This forum has grown from a group of 13 nations to 22. A series of roadmaps have been developed to support CCS, and today more than 36 CCS projects that CSLF recognizes around the world. But while we've made real progress, I think we also agree that there's much more to do, and I would add, I believe, with an even greater sense of urgency. Today, more than at any time in our history, the global community understands the serious threat of climate change to the global economy, our security, and our way of life. This was most recently confirmed by the IPCC report, which, as you know, came out with as it does, increasingly strong statements about the risks of climate change and of the role of our fossil energy combustion in driving it. While we cannot attribute any particular storm to climate change, statistically we can say that increasingly severe droughts, heat waves, wildfires, intense storms are amplified by a warming climate. And these are costing the global economy billions of dollars, and more severe impacts are on the way. If we take here in the United States a major storm that we recognized the one-year anniversary of just last week, Hurricane Sandy, that's estimated to have caused more than $60 billion of damage, weeks of interrupted energy services. And I know many other countries here at the table can tell similar stories. It's also one reason why in President Obama's Climate Action Plan, to which I will return in a bit, there's a very, very strong emphasis on the need to incorporate resilience as a key characteristic of all of our energy infrastructure developments going forward. Climate change is also a threat multiplier. From more severe droughts to intensifying storms, the costs are large in terms of lives lost, money needed to rebuild, but also in terms of potential major dislocations of societies, increased suffering, exacerbated political instability in some parts of the world, and certainly our military leaders have emphasized that climate change should also be viewed as a very serious security risk to our countries, in addition to its environmental consequences. So common sense and prudence demand that we act now. There are common sense actions that we can take to reduce our carbon emissions, give us time to adapt, and develop low-carbon technologies for the future. And this is the driving force behind actions here in the United States since President Obama took office, and in particular since he announced his Climate Action Plan at the end of June of this year. The action plan is based upon three major thrusts. One clearly is mitigation, reducing our CO2 and other greenhouse gas emissions domestically through clean energy technologies, nuclear power, and efficiency. This will be the primary focus of my remarks, but I'll just note again the other two thrusts. One I already alluded to, adaptation, the statement made by the President that we can no longer ignore the fact that we are suffering major consequences, we'll suffer more, and we need to be prepared for the impacts of climate change in order to minimize economic costs and other dislocations. The third pillar, also very, very relevant to our discussions today, international cooperation. Obviously, we recognize that we need collaboration among the worldwide community if we are to successfully manage the climate change challenge. That's what we're all about here. The President's action plan, we hope, as a very strong statement of implementable actions, will give us a stronger platform from which to engage all of you in international collaboration. 43 years ago, Congress passed here a law called the Clean Air Act. 6 years ago, the Supreme Court ruled that greenhouse gases are pollutants covered by that Clean Air Act. And so President Obama directed the Environmental Protection Agency to develop power plant emissions limits under the Clean Air Act. The EPA has already released revised draft rules for new power plants, and as you know, I'm sure setting a standard for all new plants to be at least as efficient in carbon emission terms as natural gas. It wasn't phrased exactly that way, but operationally, that's the effect of the rule when implemented, and that, of course, is a significant improvement over current fleet performance. Just as significant will be the next set of rules coming from the EPA addressing existing power plants. The plan calls for these rules to be released in draft next June, with final rules to be issued approximately a year later in June of 2015. The Department of Energy, our role is twofold. One, to be actively engaged in supporting the EPA in their rulemaking, especially with technical evaluation and input, but also then to drive the RD, D&D, research, development, demonstration, and deployment of clean fossil fuel technologies, most specifically CCUS, as we will be discussing today. So the new rulemaking gives us certainly a degree of urgency to our interest in seeing continued cost reductions in and widespread penetration of this technology. President Obama made it clear that this is part and should be seen as part of an all-of-the-above energy strategy, developing all of our domestic energy resources while reducing carbon pollution. That is, we take the move to a low-carbon economy as a given in all that we are doing, but within that constraint, then our job is to support the entire range of technologies that may contribute to the low-carbon solution in different countries and in this country, in different regions of our country, where the resources and the opportunities are quite variable. So this is a very serious effort, and I will just add that the Climate Action Plan is implementable with existing authorities in the administration, and we have every intent, certainly, of aggressively moving forward with that as our template for the next several years. Specifically on CCS, since President Obama took office, the Department of Energy has invested more than $6 billion in clean coal technologies, particularly CCUS. We're putting CO2 to work in ways to offset the cost of capture, most importantly, today at least, enhanced oil recovery. As you know, capturing CO2 and using it for tertiary recovery deep underground to increase or restart oil production in depleted oil fields. Today, sometimes not recognized, is that EOR is already a well-established technology, and specifically CO2 EOR in the United States is producing approximately 300,000 barrels a day of oil, with, of course, much of that CO2 today coming from natural sources. But the expectations are we have perhaps a factor of 10 upside in terms of production, for which, of course, we will then need CO2 captured from power plants and other potentially other industrial facilities. Tomorrow, I and some others in this room, in fact, will have an opportunity to go visit the Kemper plant in Mississippi and see one of the interesting, very, very large projects well along in its construction. In addition to large-scale demonstrations, we also support cutting-edge research into the next generation technologies. For example, our ARPA-E program has invested more than $50 million in early-stage R&D for carbon capture technology. These projects represent high-impact research with a transformational potential. One of the most promising projects uses wind tunnel technologies to turn CO2 into a condensed solid for collection and capture. This technology contains no moving parts, generates no chemical waste, makes it, in principle, inexpensive to construct and operate, with a strong potential to be integrated into existing facilities. Obviously, these are always high-risk technologies, but I think this is what we need more of, frankly, as we look for major cost breakthroughs in CCS. The department also has several energy frontier research centers. What these are a few $1 million a year programs over an extended period, most of them based in universities, again, looking to address the science grand challenges that underpin future energy technologies. The Center for Gas Separations, relevant to clean energy technologies, for example, is working on a new class of molecular compounds called metal organic frameworks, which can be used to enable low-cost, low-energy hydrocarbon separation. And finally, in our program, and part of the President's Climate Action Plan, we have committed to up to $8 billion in additional loan guarantees available to support advanced fossil energy projects that reduce emissions. So these will be a whole range of innovative projects potentially, such as carbon capture, but also many others, combined heat and power, chemical looping plants, you name it. We will be soliciting proposals explicitly later on this year. DOE's Loan Programs Office will make these loan guarantees, as I said, through a forthcoming solicitation, which will mirror our, despite what you hear sometimes, we would say extremely successful loan programs in renewable energy, advanced vehicles, and also in negotiation, nuclear power. We're working closely with industry and other stakeholders to incorporate their comments into the final solicitation, and we hope it will be very well received when it is released, probably in a few weeks. So we've been very pleased to collaborate closely with many of you in this room on CCS RD&D, and we look forward to this close collaboration. Our collaborations are happening at a government-to-government level, but they're also happening at a business-to-business level throughout the world. And as I said earlier, this kind of international collaboration is really a third pillar of our climate action plan. When I was in China last week, for example, I was very encouraged to confirm that, for example, Sinopec is evaluating some significant investments in a Texas project. So both-way investments in terms of advancing CCUS technologies. It's also we also recognize that as we look forward to building the low-carbon energy economy of the future internationally, there simply, frankly, isn't enough money in government coffers to support that program. So we are going to have to look for ways of leveraging our public funds to bring in much larger amounts of private capital if we are to have this transformation. So again, in summary, I think we have put forward a strong climate action plan to help provide us a better platform for moving forward domestically, but also to engage in international discussions. CCUS must be an important part of that effort. And today, we will be considering what the CSLF should do moving forward to help lead global efforts on this important technology. I know that some potential approaches for global collaboration under the CSLF were discussed at yesterday's policy group meeting, and we look forward to having those discussions continue today. We should pursue opportunities for joint projects on pilot-scale testing of promising low-cost carbon capture technologies and large-scale efforts for deep saline geological storage, both onshore and offshore. The CSLF hopefully can make some specific recommendations and take appropriate actions needed to facilitate productive collaborations. So today's meeting is a reaffirmation of the global community's commitment to work together to advance CCS, and we have to work to create tangible and concrete steps to help bring this technology to market more quickly and affordably than we could do alone. So thank you for your attention, and I'm looking forward to a very active discussion today.